Welcome fellow nature enthusiasts. Join Exotastic Earth community and subscribe. Sunlight, the golden kiss from the sky. It is a vital source of energy for reptiles. It is essential for strong bones and a healthy immune system. Basking in its warmth, they regulate their body temperature and enjoy the world around them. Sunlight nourishes their bodies, making it an indispensable part of their lives. The sun is the source of the full spectrum of ultraviolet radiation. Sunlight contains white light, which has all the wavelengths of visible light, and ultraviolet light, and both have roles in a reptile's life. White light affects a reptile's appetite, metabolism, production of melatonin in a reptile's brain, and in some reptiles reproduction. But reproduction specifically is influenced by temperature and seasonal changes rather than light itself. Insufficient exposure to the necessary light disrupts the gland responsible for melatonin production. This disruption affects a reptile's normal pattern of activity and proper temperature regulation. In the wild, reptiles experience seasonal variation. Hours of sunlight in the winter naturally shorter than in summer. The variation in the intensity and duration of exposure to light across the seasons affects a reptile's reproductive cycle. This discovery in itself is what helped in the success of breeding reptiles. To mimic that natural effect, you need a lighting system that allows a normal day-night cycle. UV light is part of the electromagnetic spectrum. We cannot see it with the human eye, but it is visible to many animals, including reptiles. There are three types. First, UVA. It is found in the sun and artificial full-spectrum lighting. It helps regulate activity levels and social behaviors such as feeding and mating. UVA have a longer wavelength than UVB. UVA forms 95% of the UV radiation that reaches the Earth. Second, UVB, which allows synthesis of vitamin D3. Meaning, UVB helps the skin produce vitamin D3, which helps reptiles absorb calcium from the diet. And this is essential for muscle and bone health. High exposure to UVB increases the risk of DNA and cellular damage. 95% of UVB is absorbed by the ozone in our atmosphere. UVA and UVB differ from each other by how deep the rays penetrate different levels of the skin. And finally, UVC. It is not required for reptiles. High levels of exposure is harmful because it's toxic. And good news is it's almost completely absorbed by our atmosphere. Professor Ferguson, a reptile expert, watched 15 different types of reptiles to see how much sun they liked. He noticed some reptiles were sun worshippers, basking all day, while others were more like vampires, avoiding the sun. They gathered data of the daily UV exposure. He grouped these reptiles into for sunbathing categories or Ferguson zones. Ferguson and his team divided the reptiles based on their thermoregulatory behavior. He also considered their daily sun exposure and microhabitat preferences. Zone number 1 includes the shade seekers. These reptiles prefer the cool, dark corners. They avoid direct sunlight such as leopard geckos, crested geckos, and the Burmese python. Since they only emerge in twilight hours, they require minimal or low levels of UVB. Zone number 2 includes the casual sunbathers. They enjoy a bit of sun, but not too much. They occasionally bask for short periods of time in dappled sunlight. Examples: boa constrictors, ball pythons, and ornate box turtles. Reptiles in this zone require moderate amounts of UVB. Zone number 3 are the sun worshippers. These reptiles love to soak up the rays. They bask in full sunlight in the morning or midday when it's a bit clouded. Examples for reptiles in this zone include leopard tortoises, Yemen chameleons, bearded dragons, and frilled lizards. They spend significant amount of their day basking in the sun. They require medium to high amount of UVB. Finally, zone number 4 includes the extreme sunbathers. They crave intense sunlight and bask for hours at any time during the day. Such as uromastyx, chuckwallas and rhinoceros iguana. Reptiles in this zone bask in intense midday sun. They require high levels of UVB. By understanding these sunbathing preferences, we can create the perfect environment for our reptile friends. To ensure the health and well-being of your reptile, it's crucial to provide the right amount of UVB light. This involves choosing the correct light fixture, bulb, and placing it at the appropriate distance from your reptile's basking spot. These factors work together to deliver the necessary UVB radiation. This is important for your reptile's vitamin D3 synthesis and bone health. Too little UVB will eventually lead to metabolic bone disease. An excessive exposure causes eye problems. UVB promotes overall health and natural behaviors in captive reptiles. Lighting methods. The sunbeam method. This method mimics natural sunlight. It provides a concentrated area of UVB light on top of a basking spot. Your reptile will get to choose to bask or retreat to areas with lower levels of UVB. This method is ideal for reptiles in Zone 3 and 4. You need to position the UVB and heating bulbs precisely. This ensures the basking spot receives the right amount of UVB and that the heating lamp is correctly placed. Use a UVB meter and a thermometer to measure the UV index and temperature on the basking area. The shade method. This method provides the entire enclosure in a moderate to low levels of UVB. Long linear UVB fluorescent tubes such the T5 and the T8. Benefits of this method is that it maintains UVB levels at a safe range in consistent low levels of exposure. It can be accomplished with most reptiles, but it is more ideal for reptiles belonging to Zones 1 and 2. This method cannot be used for tall vertical enclosures. Thanks for watching Exotastic Earth. Stay updated and subscribe now.